Hello and welcome to episode number 259 of the Launch Lounge podcasts. In today's episode, I'm tackling an elephant in the room. That nagging imposter syndrome that keeps talented course creators playing small. If you've been holding back, undercharging, or stuck in an endless learning mode because you don't feel quite expert enough, this episode is your permission slip to finally step up. I'll share why feeling like a fraud is actually a sign you're on the right track and give you practical ways to show up confidently, even when you're still feeling a little bit wobbly inside. Hello, my friend. It is lovely for me to be here today, hanging out with you in your ears. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. I love doing this and I love hanging out with you wherever you are. If you're on a walk or in the gym or in the car or lying on your bed, or I hope that this episode finds you really well wherever you are. On the weekend, my husband and I went car shopping. And I have now a newfound love for car shopping. I used to hate it. I used to walk into a vehicle sales place and, you know, used car salesmen have a reputation for a reason, right? But new car salesmen are even worse. I remember after my husband and I were married, the first time I went to buy a car, and I never gave it any thought that men have input on the cars that their wives drive. I guess now as an older person, who, I can see, an older person, geez, that made me sound old. Now that I've had a few years on this rotating rock, I can see how families can be set up in a way where it makes sense for a man to be the decision maker around the car that a woman drives. I don't think I have many opinions about right or wrong and should they and should they not. But that's a conversation for another day. But I bought my own car by myself when I started working, and I bought my second car by myself while I was working before my husband came along. He moved to Australia before I did, so by the time I got here, I was handed a car, which was really nice. And then when I started working, I went to buy my own car again. And I remember so well walking into the showroom of that dealership, and I already knew exactly what I wanted. And this is back in the days when I still had a tab open in my brain for what kind of car I want to drive. Nowadays, I really don't have a tab for that. So we walked into this dealership, and the salesperson kept talking to my husband. And we made it clear that I am there to buy a car, and I will never forget that experience. I still ended up buying the car, but it was just a gross experience. Anyway, fast forward about 20 years, maybe not 20, maybe like 15 years. And here is middle-aged Salome with all her wisdom and knowledge and groundedness in herself and in who she is, and have found words to say, hang on a minute, that's not what I want. Talk to me and tell me what that means, please. And so on Saturday, when we went to these car garages, we had the weirdest two completely opposite experiences. One was a salesperson who knew brilliantly what she was doing. She was really good. She just spoke in one way to my husband and in another way to me, and addressed our needs and asked me questions around what I want and why I want what I want and how I've come to find myself in her showroom today, what brought me here. So by asking me those questions, she was really uncovering what was my motivations and what was driving me. And then we went to another dealership where, again, we knew exactly what we wanted. I'm at the point where I'm comparing car one with car one with car two, A with B, right? And my husband is also comparing A with B. So we're in the market for two cars, right? We want to get rid of the cars that we have and we want to buy some new cars. So we know what we want. So go to dealership number 1, get the royal treatment. We go for a drive. It's all great. Dealership number 2, we walked in. We didn't have an appointment. The first thing we said is, we would love to test drive this car and that car, please. And the guy goes, yeah, we don't allow double test drives on a Saturday. It's too busy. And I go, well, what if I tell you we want to buy 2 cars? He goes, oh yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, then we can do that. And I was like, that was my first, like, dude, seriously? You don't let 2 people drive a car? How do you understand how families work? Anyway, then he says, well, he has an appointment to someone else, so he's going to hand us over to some other guy. Oh my goodness. And this guy comes over and he starts asking about what we have now. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter what we have now. We're interested in test driving car A and car B, please. And he goes, do both of you want to test drive them? And we go, yeah, because I want to know what my husband's car feels like and he wants to know what my car feels like. So he goes, so it's actually 4 test drives. It's just like, okay, great. Sure, buddy. And then he continues to say, well, he wants to give us an appraisal for our cars today. And I've left my kids home alone. I told my kids we're going to be back in an hour, and it's been more than an hour. And my oldest child has a friend coming over, and I've texted the mum of the friend and said, look, when you drop the kid off, we're not there, but we'll be there soon. But so I have motivation to get home, right? But my kids are big enough that I can finish this thing that I'm focusing on. So I'm not like rushing. I'm not giving off like, let's get on with it vibes. I just want the guy to stick to my agenda. I have come to this place in order to test drive this car. My husband's come with me and he wants to drive that car. Can you make it happen? And I've already had to deal with dude number 1 who's gone to his appointment. Now we're with dude number 2. And dude number 2 keeps asking about the appraisal on our current vehicles. And he's like, but do you have the cars here? And we're like, we only have one of them here. When you're like, why are you asking me this? And he's like, well, I can get you an appraisal today. Then you know what you're working with. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like paperwork. Can we just go and test drive the car? And then he goes, yeah, but if we get the appraisal done, then at least we know what we're working with and we know what you can get. And I'm like, dude, like, hold your horses. That is your agenda. I am here with my agenda. My agenda is to check a box for myself to say, I have taken this car for a test drive and given it a fair comparison to the other one so that I can decide which one I want. I am not yet at admin phase. I am at exploration phase. Now, the reason I tell you guys this is because I love what a badass I've become to salespeople, right? I love being sold to well. When someone sells to you really well, you don't notice you're being sold to. What you notice is, wow, I feel my needs really met. And you end up buying something and you feel super happy with yourself, super chuffed that you were able to purchase this solution that so perfectly matches, whatever your pain points were, whatever your desires are. And you feel chuffed with yourself because you made this great decision. And we fail to give salespeople the recognition when they're good at it that they probably guided us to a decision that was the best decision for us, but they did that through listening. They did that through understanding how we process information, how we use language to express how we process information, what we said we wanted, what we said we wanted to avoid, where we were in the buyer's journey. So they would ask questions to uncover all these things and then masterfully match their product to what our needs are, right? And leave us walking out going, wow, this thing matches my needs. I want this, right? What the guy in the second dealership was doing is he wanted to get the ball rolling on the appraisal so that he knows what the trade-in value is, so that he can start the paperwork for the sale. And he was just like, I literally had to, you know, when it's like slows down, like you go into slow motion, and I'm watching as my husband, who he's not on team let's go home to the kids. I'm watching as he's like, oh, okay. Like his agenda gets hijacked by this dude. And I'm literally maybe it's my directness, my South Africanness, I don't know what it is, but I'm literally wanting to say to this guy, dude, back up. I have one goal that I want to achieve in the next 30 minutes. Can I go for a test drive in this car now? Yes or no? Like, that's what's going on in my head. Of course, what comes out of my mouth is, I'd really prefer it if we don't do that. I just told my kids will be home in an hour. I would love to test drive the XYZ car. Do you have one available, please? So thankfully, with age and maturity, there's some filter that kicks in somewhere between, dude, get your shit together, and may I please test drive this vehicle now? No, I am not interested in getting an appraisal today. Thank you very much. Can I just please do what I want? Now, the reason I tell you this very long-winded story is because sales, is that the thing that usually brings up the imposter syndrome? Yeah, I get it. It's the sales because that's the point where we can experience rejection if we're selling. That's the point where we have to ask for something, right? That's the point where our own doubts and our own fears and our own hesitances, is that a word? About the value that we provide, and do we have enough knowledge, and do we actually know what we're talking about? That's where it comes up. It can also come up in other places. It comes up when we're creating that webinar and we have to put the content in the webinar, and we're picturing all these people on the webinar thinking we're frauds. Or it can come up when we post that thing on Instagram and we know that our cousin's brother's best friend is about to see that, and they might not believe that we have the authority to speak about this. Or our mothers, or that kid at school that used to bully you, that follows your business page. Yuck, man, that stuff sucks. And it brings up all sorts of feelings. So I want to share with you today a little bit about my journey with imposter syndrome and overcoming it. And maybe overcoming it is the wrong word. Not overcoming it, learning to dance with it. Because I think if you've ever overcome it, you're a sociopath. There's no overcoming. If you've overcome it, you've stopped growing, right? And if you've stopped growing in one area of your life, maybe there's another area where it's going to pop up, right? Okay, so let me just begin by giving you a bit of a reality check. Imposter syndrome is completely normal, right? It is absolutely normal, and it's a feeling that I almost want to say, you have to be experiencing that if you're doing something meaningful. If you're a course creator, even if you're a coach, or if you're an author, or if you're any kind of a thought leader, you're probably blazing your own trail. You're probably in pioneer land, right? It's likely that you don't know 10 other people who are doing what you've done, or who have already done what you've done, or is doing it exactly the way you're doing it. I'm willing to bet that you can maybe find 3 people with overlapping things. Maybe there's someone who launches with webinars the way you do. Maybe there's someone who is also a specialist at knitting like you are, but they sell it in a different way. Or maybe there is someone else who also uses LinkedIn for their knitting course. Geez, I would love to see that. But so what I'm saying is there might be overlaps, but as far as your gig goes, you're the only one. Most likely, you're the only one. I can honestly say, like, you can kick a Facebook ads manager out from under every rock, but there is nobody that does what I do. Nobody. There might be good ads managers who understand authority marketing, who understand knowledge marketing, infopreneur marketing. But there is nobody who does what I do. I can honestly say that. And that causes imposter syndrome sometimes. When I'm talking to some of my ads mentors who run a massive game in the e-commerce world, man, they throw around acronyms that I've never even heard of. I have to go look up. I have to sit there with ChatGPT and like, what's this acronym? What's this acronym? What's this? Because we call things different names, So you got to kind of brace for that. When I started my entrepreneurial journey, all I knew was I wanted to work for myself. I didn't want a boss. I didn't want anybody else telling me when to work, how many hours to work, and I definitely, absolutely knew I did not want to clock in and clock out. I needed my own time schedule. So I started a sales coaching business because at the time I was doing a certification in being a coach. So I felt like I was getting the coaching skills that I didn't have. But the only thing that the only skill I had that I could market was sales skills because I'd been a very good, successful pharmaceutical sales rep before that. I did also have marketing experience, but it wasn't marketing experience that I could sell B2C, so to consumers. It was more B2B sorts of sales experience. And I remember feeling like the biggest fraud of all times because I was selling my services as a sales coach and I was struggling to sell those services because I felt like a fraud because I didn't have experience with B2C and I had never sold myself. So it's like this weird catch-22 where I'm trying to sell my services as a sales teacher or sales coach, but I'm struggling to sell because I've never sold one-on-one. I've only ever sold for big corporate companies, for big brands, right? When you sell drugs to doctors, you have a company behind you. You have a legacy of a company, you have a drug, you have, there's a lot more than just I'm selling you me and my thoughts. And so I had severe imposter syndrome. So I want you to know that if you're feeling like that, it is totally normal. And here's a pitfall I want you to look out for when you're in that phase. I've got some breaking news for you. We've just finished recording the brand new 2025 edition of our free 5-day Facebook and Instagram ads training. If you've been feeling like social media is sucking the life out of you, or you're tired of spinning your wheels trying to build your list with little to show for it, this is for you. In this completely free 5-day video training, you'll discover exactly how much to spend on ads to make them work specifically for your business. I'll walk you through step by step how to set up ads that actually get results. Navigate the ads manager with confidence, even if Zucks keeps changing everything, and boost your email list signups instead of just boosting posts. The best part? You'll get lifetime access to all the updated strategies that are working right now in 2025. And you can revisit the training anytime you need a refresher. Ready to stop guessing and start growing your list with confidence? Join over 10,000 others who've taken this course now. Head over to thelaunchlounge.com/getmyAdUp or click the link in the show notes. Your future students are scrolling right now. Let's make sure they find you. When we feel like expanding is scary, what we sometimes do is we turn inwards. And in that turning of inwards, what we do is we go, maybe I'll think about this a little bit longer. Maybe I'll buy another course because that course is going to give me the skills I need. Maybe I will sign up for another coaching program because that person's going to teach me this thing that I need to know. And I want you to be careful to resist the temptation to go inwards and to just want to add more skills or learn more things, because waiting until you feel ready and waiting until you're qualified enough is a different thing, right? When you're never going to feel ready, but where you are right now, you are qualified enough. You don't need anything else to be more qualified than you are exactly in this moment. And so unless you're trying to sell something, or unless you're marketing yourself as more of what you already are, so you're making promises that you can't deliver on, or you're juicing up skills that you don't really have, or you're claiming to be a bigger expert than you are right now, then you have nothing to fear because there's a market for you. There's a market out there for you where you are right now as you are qualified enough. And I wish I can go back to that 31-year-old, something like that, 33-year-old, I'm not sure, who was trying to sell her own sales services. And I wish I can just go back to her and say, you know more than you think you do. And you don't have to get it perfect. You don't have to know everything about every different sales scenario on the planet. Just own what you know. Own it fully. Own what you know. Know that that is 1,000 times more than what all of those people sitting in front of you, listening to you at the networking event, introduce your business, than what they know. And to own that and be confident about it, all right? Imposter syndrome is not evidence that you're unqualified. It's evidence that you're growing into something. And there is never, ever, ever shame in growing, in being on a growth journey, all right? I want you to know that wherever you are right now, if you can't learn to find inside of yourself that qualified enoughness feeling, when you are more of an expert, when you have more knowledge, you are still going to struggle to find it. Because the antidote is not more knowledge, more expertise, more experience. The antidote is owning where you're at, being exactly where you are, and letting that be enough. All right. The second thing I want to share with you is the external evidence gap, right? How does an athlete know they qualify for the Olympics? That's very simple. They either qualify or they don't. Do you think that athlete does a lot of mental work to believe they can do it? Oh, you betcha. You betcha. So there is internal evidence that they have to rely on themselves that builds belief in themselves that they are capable of doing it. But the way that they know that they actually are capable of qualifying for the Olympics is by qualifying for the Olympics. That is a number. That is a thing that actually happened. That is a run you have on the board. That is something that happens externally, okay? So there is a balance between having external proof that you can do something and having that internal belief. And I often hear people say when they're talking about this, they would just address the internal belief, right? If you can believe it, you can have it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And work hard and get the runs on the board and get the external evidence, right? And when they're talking about this internal belief, that's sometimes where the old fake it till you make it come in, right? I hate that. I used to remember when I had that imposter feeling so badly that I would tell myself, just fake it till you make it, fake it till you make it, just fake it till you make it. There is nothing fake about doing something that scares you. That's the bit that people talk about when they say fake. If it scares you and you back out, then you didn't dig deep enough so that you can do the thing that really scares you, which can feel like you're faking something, but it only feels like you're faking something because you are doing something with a brave face while you're shitting yourself inside. That's the only fakeness. You have a brave face, but you're scared inside. But you do it anyway. You do it anyway. There's nothing fake about bravely doing things that scare you, all right? When I quit my job in 2018, at the end of 2017, I think you know the story. I went to a conference in the US. First time I got on that airplane, scared the living daylights out of me, cost me an arm and a leg. I didn't know how I was going to make that money back, but I went and I was in a room filled with people who were either at my level, a little bit behind me, ahead of me, a lot ahead of me, every level. I remember meeting the first person who said she makes $2 million from online courses. And I was like, for me, she was an alien. Honestly, she was an alien. Today, I can spot a $2 million online course business just by looking at their website, right? But when I quit my job, I went all in on my business. And this was the initial iteration of the Facebook ads management services that we do today, the agency. But it was just me in those first few months. And some days I woke up and I felt like I was going to throw up with fear. But I found that over time, the more conversations I had with clients where I could answer their questions about ads, the more confident I became. And then the conversation shifted to marketing. And I was right back there in that new imposter place where I had no evidence that I can help them with marketing, but I had a feeling that the reason their ads didn't result in the money that they wanted has something to do with their marketing. And over time, I learned, what is it about the marketing that needs to be fixed so that the ads can work? Because I always say ads is just traffic. Ads can never make you money, right? And I had to build up evidence, external evidence all over that I can do this. And as you grow in and out of the zone of stretching, I shared with them the way that I saw their marketing and what I thought could do it better. And some of them ignored me and some of them got angry at me. One's assistant told me, she said she doesn't want to work with me anymore because I make her feel stupid. And I was like, oh gosh, that was not my intention ever. But those things stick with you because they hurt. It's like a knife through the heart when someone says that. Anyway, okay. So I had to learn to stretch and to put myself out there. And I'm going to be honest with you today, right here where I am now, I'm doing new stuff. My business is going in new directions. I'm working on new offers. I have changed as a human. I have changed as a marketer. I've changed as an ads manager. And that change is now becoming externally visible, right? So you start doing other things in the business. And that puts you right back into that, I don't have any external evidence that I can do this thing. Until you do. Until you show up with a brave face enough that you start qualifying for the Olympics. Over time, I realized that the power lies in sharing my view of their marketing, my view of their ads, my view of what they should do to fix it. And some people will listen to it and they say, that's genius. I've never thought about it this way. And I go, that's fantastic. Let me help you. Let's get this done. And others listen to it and they go, yeah, no, that sounds like hard work. Or, that's not what my coach is saying. And I'll be like, great, amazing. My way is not for everyone. And I feel zero imposter syndrome about it because I know that you can do things many different ways. Many different ways. And my way is not right or wrong. My way is just my way, right? So be careful in thinking that you need extensive proof before putting yourself out there. But also stay away from the fake it till you make it kind of mentality, right? Listen, you don't need permission to share your unique perspective with the world. You don't need permission to share your thoughts on a certain topic or subject that you may have a lot of knowledge about, or some knowledge about, or a medium amount of knowledge about. Just share your view, your opinion, your way of doing it. Because there can never, ever, literally, there cannot be an imposter if it's you sharing your way. It's authentic. It's completely authentic. Right. Which brings me to the next point, which is your uniqueness advantage. The sooner you let go of the idea that there's a right or a wrong way to do things, the sooner you let go of the idea that people out there are judging you, wondering if you're doing it the right or the wrong way, the quicker you will get comfortable with doing it your way and sharing your approach. If you can identify what it is that makes your approach or your experience you're creating unique, rather than comparing yourself to others, you don't have to build the same business as your mentor or your teacher. You can build your business. You get to build it the way you want it to be, right? One of the things where this happens for me is I came to realize that I have the ability to see the big picture. I am the big picture person. If you want the nitty-gritty detail, or if you want the logistics, or if you want that level of detail that it doesn't even, like, to me, like, just leave the detail. Just get rid of the detail for me. I can do big picture and I can do structure, but I don't do detail, and I absolutely, definitely don't do logistics. So it's taken me a while to learn that about myself and to get comfortable around that. And to be able to say, I say to my clients, I don't do logistics. If you have a logistics question, ask Caroline. Caroline's the person in my business, takes care of the logistics. She's going to tell you when the ads go on. I don't know. Can't tell you. Have no clue. Do not care. Don't have a tab for that. I keep I reserve the tabs. I can, like, at 45 years old, I'm almost 45, I literally can only have 10 tabs open. And those 10 tabs are taken. It does not leave room for when do the ads go on. All right. So I know that I can help people. When people have gone through courses where they've done the step-by-step course and they've implemented the step-by-step and it doesn't work for them, they bring that to me. And I go, oh yeah, okay, well, let's get that 3,000 foot overview and see what's going on here. And I can very quickly identify the bottlenecks, which somebody who does specialize in the step-by-step sometimes has a hard time to explain to people how what you did in step 3 and what you did in step 12 are actually related to one another, and you created a problem in step 12 because you didn't do this thing in step 3. And you wouldn't know that if you were just following step by step. So that's something that I learned about myself. So what I want to say to you is you don't need to be a carbon copy of your mentors. You don't need to build the same business. You don't need the same business model. You don't need to teach in the same way. You don't need to anything. You don't need to anything, right? What you do need to do is deliver your best work to your favorite student. Because if you do that, you're going to see that your best work with your favorite student is going to get them results, and they're going to tell more people who are favorite students like them. And those ones that want what your mentor teaches, or those ones that want what's the other method, they're going to be happy somewhere else, and we're going to let them go. The very things that make you feel different is often the things that give you marketing advantage, right? So figure out what it is that is uniquely you and that makes you different, and lean into it. Lean heavily into it. It's the things that makes you weird. It's your quirks. It's the things that, maybe that teacher always said you're not good at this thing. Okay, so if you're not good at that thing, what's the opposite thing of that you are good at, right? Figure it out. Find your greatest advantage, because your unique views and your unique way of doing things, that is your greatest advantage. And that's going to make you stand out. It's going to make you not vanilla, right? All right, finally, you have heard this a million times, but I'm going to say it again. Confidence follows action. It's not the other way around. You don't start out confident and then do the thing. You start out very scared, but you take action anyway. And the more action you take, the more your comfort zone will expand. And the more your comfort zone expands, the more confidence you'll get in the things that you have now done a few times. But then there'll be new things. You're going to set the bar higher again. There'll be new things that you want to master, that you have to continue to do even though you are afraid. And you're going to do them. And you're going to build up muscle memory, right? Don't wait until you're confident to do that webinar. Don't wait until you're confident to put that engagement ad up. Don't wait until you're confident to make that offer to your first 100 people on your email list to come and be your beta testers for your first group coaching program. Don't wait. I sold so many one-day live in-person sales trainings in that first few months when I felt like such a fraud. Today, when I look back at it, I go, girl, you had a class of 20 students. Every time you said, come to my one-day training, I'll teach you how to sell. Okay, it was real estate agents, and it was accountants, and it was lawyers, and it was photographers. There was no niche, right? There was no niche. That was bad. But each one of them got a handbook that I created. Each one of them stood there listening to me speak about sales for an entire day, and each one of them paid to be there. If I could go back and take that girl and say, look how incredible, look how amazing. And I know that girl would have come back with, yeah, but, and then insert whatever limitation she perceived was the biggest limitation then. Today I have that hindsight. Today I have the wisdom. I didn't know back then that the purpose of the exercise wasn't to build my bank account. It was the fear of not building my bank account that left me feeling like a fraud most of the time. What I didn't know was I was building my teaching, my coaching, my marketing, and my mentoring muscles. And every time I did it, I learned to market it better. I learned to sell it better. I also learned that I hate selling at networking events, and I don't want to work with local businesses, and that my jam is online with course creators. I want to work with creative thinkers online. And so I gave that up, and I had no money I had $40,000 debt when I gave that up. But sometimes knowing what you don't want is just as important as knowing what you want. So don't wait for the confidence before you start taking action. Take action now. What is one thing you can do today that's going to move you closer to making an offer? What's one thing you can do today that's going to move you closer to building a larger audience? What's one thing you can do today to serve your coaching client, your student, your mentees, whoever it is that you work with? What's one thing you can do today to serve them a little bit better? I want you to do this exercise. Take a piece of paper and make a list of all the things you know for sure. All right? Write down all your skills. Write down your talents. If you're into personality profiles, write those down because those are your strengths as well. You can use strengths finders. That's another great tool to figure out what your strengths are. Think about skills that you've learned in other industries that you can transfer to this. And then think about what makes you unique in your niche with the students that you serve, right? The students you love to serve, not the students you're worried are going to judge you, the ones you love to serve. And then ask yourself, how can I do more of that? Because when you do more of that, a light will come on inside you and you will start creating from a place of joy and a place of delight and a place of satisfaction and sufficiency and of pouring into other people, and you will stop worrying about who's judging you. You will stop worrying about who's going to find out you're not qualified enough. You will stop worrying about who's going to point their finger and say not good enough. Because how can anyone else have any authority on what good enough at being you and sharing your talents are? They cannot. It's just you. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want you to take a moment and imagine yourself 6 months from now, after you've been consistently showing up from a real place of authentic confidence, showing up as the expert that you truly are. I want you to picture how it feels to speak with authority, to receive messages from people thanking you for sharing your unique perspective and that telling you that is the first time they were able to understand it. I want you to see testimonials rolling in that validate that what you've already known deep down for a long time. As you do this, notice how your posture changes, right? How your voice carries a natural confidence when you speak about your expertise. That version of you isn't some distant future self. It's already inside you. It's waiting to be unleashed through the actions you take today. Every time you feel that imposter voice creeping in, I want you to recognize it as a signpost pointing to your growth edge, pointing to the place where you need to grow into. Then take one small, deliberate step forward anyway. Remember, you don't build a freedom empire by waiting until you feel 100% ready. You build it by taking action now, bringing your unique gifts to the world and giving it to the people who need them most. Have a lovely day. I'll see you again on Thursday. Bye. Before you go, if today's episode helped you, imagine how many more lives could be transformed if other creators, coaches, and experts found these strategies too. Your shares and reviews help more course creators discover how to get their knowledge out into the world. Please take a moment to rate the show and leave a quick review. When you do, we get to reach more people and we make a bigger impact together. Because when more people who help people succeed, the world becomes a better place. Thank you.